My name is James Rast, also go by JC. Currently an active duty Air Force officer. I grew up in San Antonio, Texas, and that's actually, luckily enough, where I'm stationed right now. We moved out here in early November, and I would say only for my son's first birthday, which was at the end of January, did we get everything unpacked. Played football, a lot of other things in high school, and I was fortunate enough to get an offer to play football at the Air Force Academy out in Colorado. I was out there going to school, played football all 4 years. Got to play a lot in the Mountain West, which was awesome. Obviously played Army and Navy, and I got to play schools like Michigan, Michigan State. Cal was a lot of fun. And then after graduation, ended up getting selected to fly remotely piloted aircraft, maybe a little bit better known as drones to most people. I ended up back home in San Antonio for training. That's what I flew at out in South Carolina for the past 3 years, and then I got picked up for an instructor slot to come back here to San Antonio, back home to teach at the schoolhouse for the next generation. Outside of the mowing and the job, I have 2 kids, so they take up a significant amount of my time. And when it's not them and family and friends, I also have my private pilot's license, so I fly on the side as well to keep that up. Doctor Strange, maybe control time and make multiple versions of himself. So I feel like that would be the most useful if I could just make 1,000 of myself. That would be the most useful thing, or just be able to pause time. So growing up, I spent my grandparents, the ones there in San Antonio, fortunately they've since passed, but growing up they had 40 acres. It was a huge property, and it was always absolutely immaculate. And then I kind of noticed as they got older and they couldn't keep up with it as much, it kind of got into disrepair until eventually they ended up in assisted living. Seeing the inability of them to age in place as a result of them not being able to keep up. Now, obviously, a lot of the people that we help, it's not 40 acres, right? It's just their front and backyard, but the concept's the same. They can't keep up with it, and they're potentially under threat from their home could get taken if it was bad enough. And then on the other side of things, I've had neighbors that they've deployed, and I've mowed their lawn once or twice just to kind of help them out. So it was already 2 things that were kind of related to what I was doing, and I thought that there was a chance maybe to help more outside of just the local area that I was in. That's when I found I Want to Mow Your Lawn on Volunteer Match. So the biggest thing, honestly, is you can see the stories, because when a request comes in, it may just be the name and the information that you see on the spreadsheet, but when you get to get in touch with those people, when you get to see some of the stories out of other volunteers, there's really, even more so when you get to go in person and meet the people, you get to hear their stories, and you get to see the before and after. It's just such a huge impact. So anytime I can help in person, that's obviously my favorite thing. Now I have other roles within the organization as far as helping out the operations, and it's awesome to be able to facilitate that and try to make that a better process for other people. Work can be busy, and that can impact between work and family, how often I am able to help, but it really just is a balance, right? I think that there's room for everything. It's just maybe you have to go a little bit stronger on things at certain times and then pull back on things at other times. There's an ebb and flow to everything. I think there's time to do all 3: family, work, and helping out in the community. The lawns and the leaves, they don't just get mowed and raked by themselves. There's a whole backend infrastructure to get that done, and so part of that is we have volunteer coordinators that obviously we'll take as many as we can get, but a request will come in on the website. It spits out into a spreadsheet, and that's how we try to assign volunteers based on how nearby they are. Do they have the right equipment? There's a background where they can relate with each other. Things like that makes it, because it's really the story of the person being helped that helps drive engagement with our volunteers. It's matching people with people and trying to do that in the most efficient way possible. Now, we've made huge strides towards trying to automate some of that. So going from what used to be someone having to manually type into Google and type things out and get the address and go down the list and see who's closest to now where it says like, hey, these 3 people are the closest people. Or hey, we don't have anybody nearby and we need to go post a volunteer match or maybe some other website to try to find help, because there's a lot of times where we do have people nearby, but then there's other times where if someone's in a particularly rural area or someplace where we don't quite have as strong of a volunteer presence yet, where we have to go find new volunteers. And so at that point, it's just basically racking and stacking, people based off of how much are we able to help them, and then, how much need does that individual have, and those two things come together to matching them with the volunteer. We can never have enough volunteers. Like, being in the area, if we have areas where we're 1 deep because we only have 1 volunteer in that area, if they're sick or if they're just as simple as like they take a vacation, right? Because people can take vacations, that can impact how we're able to help people out. So the more the merrier, and it just means that we can help people faster the more people we have in the area. We kind of triage the requests as they come in, but we also triage them for our volunteer side as well. Because if we have like these absolute like superstars that are, just like very responsive, constantly on top of like mowing and pretty much whatever we need, they're immediately there to help just because they have such a big heart about it. We don't want to push that too far. We want to make sure that that's manageable for them, so that there's many years of them helping versus they immediately burn out, and then now it's a bad experience for them, and then we're not helping the people that really need help. Dude, so it was actually raking leaves. So there was a lady in South Carolina. She had probably 2-3 years worth of leaf build up in her yard, and so that entire project was me, a coworker, and his daughter, his middle school age daughter, and we all went out there and we spent 3-4 hours getting her leaves raked up, and she was incredibly awesome. Like, it was an incredible experience. So she was originally from more so out west, and so she didn't have any family members nearby to like lean on to kind of help that. So we talk about aging in place, the thing that kind of drove me to in the first place. By being able to rake those leaves up and get them off the house, and it was night and day, the difference between before and after. It ended up being like very solidly double-digit number of like the large 55-gallon construction trash bags. It looked like a completely new house, and so it was between her and then kind of similar, got a few other coworkers to go help out with someone who was recently separating from the military. So not everybody we help is necessarily, an older adult. Sometimes there's younger people with disabilities, younger veterans as they're separating and they're going through the whole like VA disability process, and they don't know quite, what they're going to do next. We have an opportunity to help out one time, like we did with that individual's lawn. He was a National Guard person that was being medically separated after multiple deployments, and they were able to get out there and help get his lawn out of a state of disarray back to what it should look like. And I know that made a huge impact for that individual. So that was my first experience, was kind of one I was physically there for, and the other one was the coworkers on that same weekend, getting them to help out. Yeah, so I remember getting the request in, and it was from, I want to say it was out in Colorado. But it wasn't really quite clear like what they needed, and so had to get on the phone with them, had to ask some more questions to kind of dig deeper on, like, because at first, like their yard, it looked like it was completely just rocks. It wasn't really clear. Like, what it turns out is they help with like the shrubs and the bushes around their house, and so we're able to get a volunteer out to assist with that. But again, it's at base level, it was a little ambiguous what was going on. But once we were able to get on the phone, talk with them, understand what they needed, we were able to get a volunteer out there to help. So the interest in landscaping, that was a little forced from my dad, since I had to help mow the lawn growing up. And so I was out there every weekend with him. In Texas, it grows almost year round. So almost year round, I was out there with my dad. Typically he would edge and trim, and I would mow the lawn, the front and backyard. And so it was kind of like a teamwork thing with my dad. It was bonding time with him. Now, since then, obviously, I actually owned my own house. We live out here now, and I mow my own yard But it was such a great experience growing up with my father and being able to do that. And then now, of course, I have better tools. It used to be like the old like gas push mower that was just barely hanging on, but now I just buy like a battery powered one and it's great. It's one of like the ego mowers. I got it. Was like it's awesome. Just the tools have gotten better, but the overall the work's the same, right? It's mowing along. I'm sure it looks nice. I think when I first reached out to y'all, I was in like a volunteer match posting. I was like, hey, like I think I can help out in like these ways, like based on some of my background. And then we ended up connecting Brian and like talking about it and deciding that it was a good fit. And honestly, it has been such a blessing. So there was areas in my background where I had some experience to get out and help out, but there's been such a growth in, especially on the back end side of things with some of the operational work that I've done, just making like sometimes have to make tough decisions about whether it's people's like situations, if they need help, tough decisions with volunteers sometimes, because sometimes there's personality conflicts and issues. Anytime you get at this point like 700 plus volunteers and however many thousands of people asking for help, there's going to be butting heads sometimes, and things aren't always going to go super well. Just being able to handle things kind of on that personal level and mediating between people, and then being able to improve processes. Sometimes on the pilot side of things, it's just me and an enlisted sensor operator, and that's kind of the depth of the leadership that you can get in a lot of situations. So being exposed to a larger level, that's been absolutely incredible. I would say just do it, right? So it's like the Nike slogan. At the end of the day, you may only have time for a lawn every now and then, or your schedule may allow you to help out people on a recurring basis. But at the end of the day, like even the one lawn like makes a huge impact in that person's life. Like it may just be you mowing for like an hour or two, right, and edging the lawn, but it has such an outsized impact on that individual that you're helping, and everything that they've got going on. Being able to just connect and hear their story, super inspiring. I know we have like a veteran he was at the D-Day landings, right? We have people that are cancer survivors that we help. There's all these incredible stories that you wouldn't realize are just around the corner from you, from getting out in your community. And it's like the whole it's giving and receiving. You receive so much blessing actually from being able to help. It's just simple as like you feel good about yourself. It's a two-way street. I want to mow your lawn. I'm super excited, working towards finalizing some work with a grant that we got from Vision's Federal Credit Union, getting all that in place to really get more robust on the back end and being able to help out people on a much easier level. How much do they need help and how much can we help them on that side of things? And then on the other end, I'm excited for the new mowing season. It's 2024. It's a brand new year. So I was able to help out last year for the first year, but I think this year there's an incredible opportunity to hit the ground running even quicker. Because I know last year I didn't start in earnest until like it was more so until April, when I was actually starting to do things. Just being able to be here a whole year and get an earlier start, I think there's a great opportunity to move forward and get more lawns done. But we do need help. So as many people as we can get help, whether it's mowing or on the back end, we do need people. At work, we're overhauling the whole syllabus and program that we train the upcoming pilots on. So that's something that I'm helping lead. And it's obviously going to be a huge effort, but we're just in the beginning groundworks, a ground level stage of that. So that's something that'll develop more over the next like 2 or 3 years. Nothing happens particularly quickly in government work sometimes.
Awesome. Thank you again for your service and going above and beyond. I really appreciate your time and contribution and your service to our nation and to our organization. You're pretty awesome, man. Thank you, James. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.